When you read the Gospels, you're conscious that Jesus was always on journeys. We note in the passage I'm going to read that he was often passing through towns on the borders and villages. So let me read to you Matthew chapter 9, 35, and reading right through to the 8th verse of chapter 10. Jesus went through all the towns and villages, teaching in their synagogues, proclaiming the good news of the kingdom, and healing every disease and illness. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion on them, because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to the disciples, "The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into his harvest field." Jesus called the 12 disciples to him and gave them authority to drive out impure spirits and to heal every disease and illness. These are the names of the 12 apostles. First, Simon, who is called Peter, and his brother Andrew, James, son of Zebedee, and his brother John, Philip and Bartholomew. Thomas and Matthew, the tax collector, James, the son of Alphaeus and Thaddeus, Simon the Zealot, and Judas Iscariot, who betrayed him. These 12 Jesus sent out with the following instructions. Do not go among the Gentiles or enter any town of the Samaritans. Go rather to the lost sheep of Israel. As you go, proclaim this message. The kingdom of God has come near. Heal those who are ill, raise the dead, cleanse those who have leprosy, drive out demons. Freely you have received, freely give. Jesus sent his disciples out on a mission. He was conscious that he had a mission, but the need was also for his people to go into the world to serve. And we see that picture quite graphically described for us in these words here. The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into his harvest field. And what follows is the instructions to the 12 disciples after he called them to be with him. They were to share in his mission. I like that. It's not their mission. It's a mission that is theirs, but with Jesus. They were called to something together. I always consider Oswald Chambers' book, My Utmost for His Highest, will remain a classic. He wrote this: the aim of the missionary is to do God's will, not to be useful, not to win over the heathen. He is useful, and he does win over others, but that is not his or her aim. The aim is to do the will of the Lord. So when Jesus called these disciples out and sent them on a mission, he was asking them to follow his way, share in his mission, share in the reach that was already being displayed as Jesus worked alongside people and reached out with compassion. But the workers were few. It may seem a great moment in the ministry of Jesus and the disciples that a dozen of them are sent out. But they were so few in comparison to the huge crowds of people that they were to reach. And it's always been important for Christians to be able to affirm the small group of those who are at the heart of everything, called to go out into all the world with the gospel. So it is that we're called. We're called to share that good news with others. And our aim, as we've said in Chambers' words, is to do the will of the Lord, whatever that might be. And Jesus sends out these disciples conscious that they will have to face conflict, conscious that it's not going to be easy. In fact, it's going to be the exact opposite. It's going to be difficult. But they're called to go out with good news. And when you've got good news, and when you're empowered to go out in the power of the Spirit, then you have got something that will make all the difference, however hard that mission and ministry is. And so Jesus sent them out. He told them where to go. They were to go not to among the Gentiles or the Samaritans, but to go to the lost sheep of Israel. Now, this is not to make the people of Israel priority over everybody else, but to say it's more tragic than ever that they were lost when they'd heard so much of the ways of God. And to these people, they would be the first call, as it were, upon the time of the evangelical mission that was being empowered and given to those first disciples to go to them them to go. And I love this word here. It says, as you go. I've said many, many times that word go that we hear in the Great Commission is not strictly just go. It's as you are going. As you're going, preach the gospel. As you are going, they are to be part of that mission. So it's not a secondary thing, but it's a passionate desire to go, to be on a journey. But as you're on that journey, share the compassionate love of God. Share the message of the kingdom. This was certainly something that Jesus was asking of his disciples. It's spelt out in these words: heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse those who've got leprosy, drive out demons. Freely you have received, freely give. And in the same way, we too have to share in that mission, to reach out to some of the most vulnerable on the edges and on the margins of our community, the good news of the gospel, to do the will which is truly the will of the Lord.